Okay guys, this is part 2. So we've made some shapes. You've played around with the text a little bit. Or you can move that to anywhere you want. Go ahead and put like your, you don't have to actually put your phone number. You can put a fake phone number, a fake address. Kind of make this as real as possible to look at. And just kind of go ahead and turn in. When you're ready to turn it in, you just do a save as. And you'd save it as a business card. Remember, it's a Photoshop file. The only way I can grade it if it's a Photoshop. If you save it as a JPEG, it flattens it, and I can't see any of these layers or any of your work. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you some different features of the shape tool. So I'm going to click up here and click here and just delete all of it. So I'm holding the shift down, by the way. You can actually hold the alt option and select. I'm actually doing the command key, so I think it's control on a PC, and you can hold down specific layers. Like if you want to delete these two, you'd highlight this, hold down the command key, click that, and then you can hit delete. So yes. So what we'll do is I'm just going to get rid of all of them and start brand new. So I just held down the shift. I'm going to trash them. Yes. So what I'm going to create a new layer again. Hide that one because I don't really need that one anymore. And let me show you some of the cooler things you can do. You have the rounded rectangle tool. I use this one a lot when I'm doing like web design, because it's just a kind of a nice, clean. I like the rounded corners. And let's go ahead and make another one here and drag that down. And you could fill this with white, or like, remember how I said it's kind of easier just to use that shape tool, fill that, and then double click it. And if you're stuck on your color libraries, you can just go back to your picker, and I'm going to pick white up here. I hit OK. So now you have these two rectangles. And with really anything in Photoshop, if it's on its own layer, you can come down to your effects. Oh, you guys can't see those. So let me move this up. And we're on this top one, that kind of cool gray one. You click effects and you can do a drop shadow. And that'll give it a little bit of depth. So you can kind of see, let me move this over here, around this edge here, it provides a little bit of a drop shadow. And what's cool is you can click on the image and move that drop shadow wherever you want. You guys can get, like, if you want on this first assignment, I'll let you guys be as tacky as you want. So if you want to see what all the different layer styles do, just click each one. The ever popular bevel and emboss. You know, you can do gradient overlays. Ugh. If you don't like it, just unclick the box. Patterns, very tacky though. Just going to give you a heads up. So I put just a bevel on there and a inner shadow and drop shadow. Let's say you go back and like, oh, I hate that bevel. Just turn the little eyeball off. Oh, I don't like that inner. Turn it off. And so we're just stuck with this one. Now what's kind of fun with the rectangular tools and the shape tools is if you're on your shape tool, okay, you have this little option up here, this little box here. You can click and you can subtract from the shape itself. So if I click on this and I go down and I make this box, see what it does? It subtracts from the shape. It's a pretty cool effect, especially if you've done a drop shadow. So you can go in here and have some fun with it. And what's cool is you could do like the ellipse one, which I just call the circle one. And you can make little holes here. Kind of makes it look like Swiss cheese. So you can have some fun. And you can see what it's doing. If, let me make this bigger so you can see it. You can see how it's cutting it out. It's kind of cool. So you can have some fun with it. And you can do that with really any of the shape tools. So I'm done with that one. Let's try the custom shapes. Custom shape tool. once you select that, this is going to change up here, and you're going to see this little shape. If you click on it, you're going to see all these little custom shapes. Now these are pretty much the standard defaults of Photoshop. Once you get better at Photoshop though, you're going to learn where to go acquire more custom shapes. You can go to several different places and download custom shapes and bring them in. You can actually create your own custom shapes. So let's go with one of the default ones, which everyone's very familiar with. And oh, here's a heads up. See, I'm choosing this one, but I've forgotten to change this back. So if I come over here and click this, it's actually going to subtract it, which is kind of a cool effect, from the one I was already using. So if that happens, Command Z. Remember, when you mess with any of these options up here, they stay there forever. So I got to go back up to this one and click New Layer. Now I can click and drag, and I can do a little thumbtack. Remember, if you hold the shift down, it does it in proportion. While holding the shift down, like in the first tutorial, if you put your thumb on the space bar at the same time, this is going to get a little tricky. You can move it at the same time without it actually taking place. So right now I'm holding in the shift key and the space bar. Okay. And so you have this shape here, and it's white like anything else. So I'm going to change the color of it. There we go. So you could do something like this and say, okay, I want my business card to be real simple. Text layer, say Dave Danforth. Remember, it's still in white, so we have to probably double click it. And I want it to be one of these dark ones here, and I hit OK. So you could have a very simple, I guess you'd call this the minimalist approach to business cards. And you can always adjust your text. Remember, I showed you in the last tutorial. There's another way to do it. It's kind of frowned upon, but I'll show you the correct way to do it. And that's using your free transform on text. You hit Command T, and you see this little transform box comes up. Just don't do this. Okay, just dragging it randomly. That's going to make the text look really ugly. Hold down your shift so it keeps it in proportion. Okay? And when you're done with it, you hit return, and then you've increased the font size. But one of the problems, I'll see if it did it on this one. I'm going to double click that text, and I'm going to bring up my character palette. What happens when you do a free transform on text? You get a 9 point something, or like a 12 point something. I like whole numbers, and usually in the industry you want to use whole numbers when it comes to point size. So I just round that up. I triple click it. See, 1, 2, 3, and type in 10. So if you're gonna do a free transform, see, I'll do that again so we can see it. I hit Command T, and I start stretching it out. And see how that went to 11.73, and I was holding my shift down. Just go ahead and hit return. Click your text. Double click in there, triple click, and just round it up to like 12. It's just a pet peeve among designers. Okay, so that's the custom shape tool. So if you want to try some other fun ones, if you come back over to your custom shape tool, which is right here, and you click this little arrow. Photoshop's complicated. There's like menus within menus within menus, and it kind of sucks at times. But click this little wheel here, and you'll see this another menu pop up. And what's cool is you have all of these different custom shapes. Okay, some of these are mine, so you might not have the same ones. But let's say if we do like objects and just hit OK, you see that this gets even bigger now. So you have some different objects in there. You've got a foot. I don't know why you'd want a foot, but here's a foot. And try some different ones. These are ones I've kind of downloaded, so you can see once later on you can do some pretty cool ones. So I'm actually going to get rid of that shape. Both these, I don't want those anymore. and I'll bring up one of my grunge ones and click and drag, and you'll see that those ones can sometimes be pretty cool. This looks kind of like a coffee stain. So, there's lots of cool ones that you can download. So you could have a business card that's like a coffee stain or something like that. And remember, you don't have to fill up an entire space. It doesn't have to be like jam-packed full of design. You can do very simplistic design. But I do want you guys to do all of it in Photoshop. I want you to use the shapes. You can play around with the brushes. The brush palette, once you click on that, you can come over and up here in your options, you'll see some different brushes you might be able to use. Everyone's going to either do leaves or grass, but there's lots of different ones that you can do. And it's the same thing if you have your brushes open here, you can come down and say, okay, I want some special effects. And if you hit OK, it's going to replace them, but you can hit a pen and it'll just add them to it. Okay, so there's some ducks, some also kind of weird stuff, flowers. And you'll have some fun with it. See what happens if you go and paint. See, ducks. Oh, it's evasion of the ducks. I don't like that. So usually create a new layer and you can paint away, choose some different things. If you want a bigger palette for your brushes, you can just go to your window and bring up your brush. And so sometimes this is much easier to work with. So you could choose some different brushes, come down and say, okay, oh look, Saturn. And you'll see some options down over here, and if you start playing around with the size, you'll see they get bigger and smaller. You can increase the spacing between them. Okay, so if you click and hold down, you have little Saturns going across. And here's a little trick too. You have brackets on your keyboard. They're right next to the letter P on your keyboard, and there's two brackets. And if you can hear me clicking on one and then the other, your brush palette goes up and down. So by doing that, you can have some fun. If your brushes are really big, it might take a little longer for them to load. So you can choose some different ones and just kind of play around with the spacing, and just kind of see what happens when you put some polka dots down. It can get pretty tacky really quick, so if you don't like something, you hit Command Z and it goes like steps back. A little trick though, Option Command Z goes back through history. So Option or Alt, if you're on a PC, Alt Command Z goes multiple steps back. So that's it for this lesson. Kind of have some fun, use a lot of your shapes, try to find some complementary colors, nothing too outrageous. Play around with your text a little bit, try some different effects with your text. So down here, click on that, blending options. This is where you do the drop shadow on your text. If you do like a pattern, pick a cool pattern. It's the same thing. You click on this and you could find something by clicking on that and say, okay, I want some maybe colored paper. So you could find something at least a little bit more interesting than the default ones. And you can scale it. See, if I'll zoom in real quick so you can see it. I'm holding down the space bar to navigate. Brings up my little hand tool. And you can see I can scale that. And my phone's ringing, so I'm going to go ahead and get going. And you can try some of the stuff on your own. Thanks.